Mark Rogers TV talking USC football. We bring in Ryan Abraham. You can catch him on USCfootball.com for the very finest in USC football coverage. The Trojans heading to the Cotton Bowl to take on Ohio State. Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Mark. What's up?
Not too much. So this bowl bid, I know for us old timers that are used to the way the bowl bids used to go out and the strong alliances between the bowls and the conferences that weren't interrupted based on the college football playoffs. This smells and feels of Rose Bowls gone by. That's what it is. USC and Ohio State, they've met in more Rose Bowls than any other two matchups, two teams.
Yeah, it's kind of a Rose Bowl with better barbecue, I guess. You're going to be southern, in Texas as opposed to Southern California. And it's kind of nice. Actually, the Fiesta Bowl with Washington and Penn State, that's a, Pac-12, Big Ten feel. And, of course, at USC and Ohio State. The Rose Bowl itself is the one game that doesn't have the Big Ten and Pac-12 matchup. But this Ohio State, USC, the two blue bloods from the two conferences that normally meet in the Rose Bowl. And I think they're kind of similar teams, too, where they always have, 4- and 5-star recruiting classes, a lot of talent, but don't always play up to that potential. I think both of these teams, especially this year, kind of showed that.
Ryan Abraham joining us from USCfootball.com, Trojans and the Buckeyes at the Cotton Bowl. And I'm sure you go back quite a ways on this one, Ryan, in regards to the Ohio State-US series that has been dominated by the Trojans. 7 consecutive wins going back to the mid-'70s and a Rose Bowl win for the Buckeyes. I know that I remember Charles White going over the top in the 1980 Rose Bowl, a win that deprived Ohio State of a national championship. There was a game a few years later after the 1984 season in which USC upset Ohio State at the Rose Bowl. They've had a couple of home-and-home series, one in the late 80s when USC was substantially better at that time. Ohio State still getting established under John Cooper at that point and didn't have some of its better teams in play at that point. And then just fairly recently, I guess it's now been close to 10 years, but in 2008 and 2009 with USC winning back-to-back games, really taking out what turned out to be a good Ohio State team that went to the Fiesta Bowl in 2008 and tied for the Big Ten title, and that game wasn't close. That was just kind of the crescendo or ending conclusion of those great Pete Carroll teams in 2008. And then the very next year, Ohio State went on to win the Rose Bowl and beat Oregon, but in Columbus, Matt Barkley led the Trojans down the field for a game-winning touchdown in a very hotly contested game. So just kind of your memories of Ohio State USC.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Rose Bowl matchups are always great, and you said it before, the two teams that have met the most in the Rose Bowl. USC's, won more Rose Bowls than any other team has been to, but when they go, Ohio State is that kind of classic matchup with, Michigan a little bit too. But just, the last time these two teams played, I went to Columbus and I was on the field. I think it was like the first time ESPN was trying out like some of their 3D technology, and it was a big deal. People remember Matt Barkley, but really Joe McKnight, who recently passed away, he had a huge game in that one. And it was a big win, I think, for USC and having, freshman Matt Barkley come out there and do it. It was, that was really like the end of the Pete Carroll era. There weren't the teams that weren't quite as good. It would have been fun to see them play in like the 2004, 5, that range. Anyone that USC played out of conference in those years that just blew out, like Arkansas and Auburn and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that last one, I think a lot of USC fans, some of the younger ones at least, remember that. If you went out to the Horseshoe, that was such a great environment. So to have these two teams play together, I know it's crazy. It's been almost a decade, but I think it'll be a really good matchup.